31-year-old Andry Hernandez Romero, a gay Venezuelan makeup artist and hairdresser, was detained by ICE and deported to El Salvador in the middle of the night. Now, he's in CCOT with gang members. This is a death sentence for him, and there's no other way to put it. What is the backstory on Romero? Well, he is from Venezuela, where he faced significant threats and persecution as a gay individual. Now, Venezuela is a country where there is so much violence and horrific discrimination against the entire LGBTQ plus community. Now, as a result of everything that he was enduring in Venezuela, and despite the fact that his parents did not want him to leave his home country of Venezuela, and they were really hoping with the new election coming up that maybe things would change, Romero was going through hell and had to flee Venezuela for his safety. So he fled to the United States. And this occurred on August 29th of 2024. Now, he followed legal procedures to apply for asylum in the United States. He arrived at a legal point of entry where he had an appointment for asylum. Now, he was detained at the border of Mexico and San Diego. And he had already passed his preliminary asylum screening. He had credible fear of safety. Now, as we know, ICE uses tattoos as a form of determining whether or not somebody is a part of a gang. So during this detainment, this initial detainment at the border, he was interviewed. And they first discovered one tattoo that went from his forearm, his left forearm, to his biceps. It was covering that whole left arm, and it was of a snake coming out of a bouquet of flowers. He also had a tattoo on the insides of each wrist, one saying mom inside a crown, one saying dad inside of a crown. Now, it's important to note that he has no criminal record, of course. But in this interview, they were fixated on these tattoos, specifically the two crowns with the word mom in one and the word dad in the other. So they asked him if he was a part of a gang, and he said no. Well, the interviewer believed that these two crowns with the word mom and dad in them on each of his wrists identified him as a gang member of the Tren de Aragua gang. And so because of that, he was immediately under suspicion, and although he had an appointment for his asylum, they detained him anyway. They put him in a detention facility in San Diego, an ICE detention facility, and they detained him under suspicion. So 3 months into his detention in San Diego, December of 2024, an immigration lawyer got wind of his case, offered her services to Romero pro bono, and filed for asylum on his behalf. So now Romero had a court date scheduled for asylum March 13th of 2025. Now Trump's in office. So 1 week before his court date, Romero, as well as all the other Venezuelans in custody in the detention facility in San Diego, were transferred to an ICE detention facility, which, by the way, has horrible conditions, in South Texas, 1 week before his March 13th court date. ICE never informed Romero's lawyer about his transfer, and she didn't actually find out until Romero had called her from the facility in South Texas, and that was the last time they spoke. So a week later, now it's March 13th, and it's Romero's court date. His lawyer was there. She had thought that the government would have him appear via video, and that did not occur. So the judge postponed until March 17th. So the very next day, March 14th, Romero was given the opportunity in Texas to make one phone call and let somebody know he was being transferred, and they did not tell him where he was being transferred. So he called his mother. He said, I'm doing okay. I don't know where I'm being transferred, but they let me make a call. Meanwhile, his lawyer has no idea he's yet again being transferred or where he's going. So now it's 3 days later, March 17th, and it's Romero's court date that had been postponed from the 13th. So obviously, Romero was transferred. Lawyer didn't know. Now he doesn't show up for the March 17th court date. So now the judge is asking the ICE lawyer, where is he? Why haven't you presented him? Why haven't you made him available for this court date? The ICE lawyer told the judge, I just found out that he was just removed from the United States and sent to El Salvador. Well, the judge was infuriated and said there was no removal. There's no deportation removal order. There's no court order. How can he be removed? Well, we all know now how Romero was removed, with the 237 Venezuelans who the Trump administration claimed all of them were gang members. On March 14th, you remember when Romero had the court date on March 13th and missed it? They didn't let him appear. And then the very next day, on March 14th, Trump signed a proclamation expanding his presidential powers under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. And this ancient law allows the president to detain and deport immigrants who are living in the United States lawfully, following the law, if they determine that they are from countries who are enemies of the United States. Well, the Trump administration declared this Venezuelan gang, the Tren de Aragua gang, to be an enemy of the United States. This is absolutely insane how all of this has unfolded. It really is. And all 237 of these individuals, most of whom were awaiting court dates for going through the process of legally becoming a citizen of the United States, following all the rules, all the steps, no criminal records, have all been sent to El Salvador. Most of the 237. Now, Trump signed that proclamation, as I said, on March 14th, the day after Romero's court date. And when did Trump announce that he signed the proclamation? He made it public the next day, on the 15th. And as we all saw during those 24 hours, it was all secretive. He did not make it known that he signed that proclamation yet. And during those 24 hours is when they sent the planes to El Salvador and secretly deported 237 Venezuelans. One of them, who is Andry, Hernandez, Romero. They are all at CCOT. There has been zero transparency. There has been no communication with Romero since he's been deported. Before he was transferred on the March 14th, he was allowed to call his mother. That was the last anybody heard from him. Now, there have been activists, legal advocates, immigration lawyers, elected officials, all of whom have advocated for Romero and demanded that ICE and DHS bring him home back to the United States from El Salvador so that he could face his asylum and have his asylum case. Of course, nothing has happened. I don't think anybody will come back from El Salvador. We all know what's going on with that and how many millions of dollars Trump has given Bukele, the president of El Salvador, to detain everybody at CCOT, one of the worst, most torturous prisons in the Western Hemisphere. You know, this is a clear human right violation. I can't imagine the fear Romero is going through. His life must be complete hell right now. Please like, follow, and share so that I can continue to provide you with content. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you being here.